Hi, I'm Dr. Bertice Berry, and I need to tell you this story. I have been praying with the ancestors, like quite literally. I grew up in the Church of God in Christ, a Pentecostal church, and we did not, as a practice, kneel to pray. I'm Episcopalian now. We kneel, Catholics kneel, some other churches kneel. Throughout the service, there's kneeling, and it's about embodying your worship, where you're using your body to participate in the prayers, in the worship. But Church of God in Christ, we embodied worship in other ways through shouting and praising and dancing in the spirit. So anyway, these mothers, they were old. They were old, and they were always at church. We have service 6 days a week. They were at every service. We never knew how they got upstairs. I never knew how they got upstairs. They'd be there before I got there, and how they got upstairs, I don't know. They walked on walkers or canes, but somehow they got upstairs. And then in service, when everybody else would be seated in our pew, you open your eyes after prayer, and they would be physically getting up from their kneeling position because they knelt to pray. And I thought about them recently. I found out a few years ago, long after they had gone, that these women had been survivors of the Tulsa Race Massacre in 1921. They never talked about it. They testified about how the Lord had brought them a mighty long way, healed their body, lifted them, brought them from a mighty long way. Now I know that long way was Tulsa. That race riot, that massacre, not a riot, but a massacre that killed 36 people, destroyed 40 blocks of what was known as Black Wall Street. Those women were survivors. And what people don't realize is that the trauma of being a victim is so great that the shame sometimes is actually greater than those who've perpetrated that trauma. So even though they didn't talk about it, they showed the way. We know about it now through records and story and documents. But when I learned that those women that I sat next to, talked to, walked with, prayed with, were there, I was blown away. Anyway, I decided recently that I needed to embody my own worship a little bit more, and I needed to pray like those old mothers prayed. So I decided I was going to get on my knees to pray. Now, it's not as easy as I say it. First night I had been up all day and working hard all day and worked late into the night. And I was already in bed before I remembered what I had said. And I said to myself, you had said you were going to get on your knees and pray. And so I was like, yeah, well, I'll do it tomorrow. I can pray right here in this bed. And then I said, no, get up. I got up. I said, well, you could at least say the Lord's Prayer. Come on. I got up. I was tired. I should also say, for those of you who don't know, that I have multiple sclerosis, so getting down and kneel and pray is not so easy. But it sure couldn't have been for Mother Burton, Mother Franklin. Anyway, I got down on my knees and I began to say the Lord's Prayer. And it was like the first time I went into meditation, I was already somewhere else. I was looking at my body, kneeling in prayer, and next to my body was the spirit memory of those church mothers. It's a good thing I was looking at it from above. Anyway, I said that prayer and I tried to get up, and it was difficult to get up, and then I got up and I told myself that the more I go down, the easier it is going to be to get back up. Because if those old mothers could get on their knees and pray, surely I can. Next night, same thing. I see those church mothers, and I also see my mother, who I'm sure knelt in prayer with all of her requests and lamentations and crying out to God. The next night I prayed and I saw a host of mothers, mothers who prayed us through riots outside, who prayed when crosses were burning, who prayed when children were being sold away. Those prayers were not nothing. These stories are not nothing. We are here standing on the knees of our ancestors. And it's mighty time we honor them. I love you.